Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Bryler.
Well, what do you know, man? A couple of squirrels found a couple of nuts over here, didn't we? Right at 7 o'clock?
And look I got the professional setup.
Hey.
No more headset jockey for me. Well, headset with the microphone.
I like the headset jockey.
I know you like it.
It's simple, it's easy. I feel like it sounds the same. I mean, maybe not, on a deep dive.
It doesn't sound the same for me on my side. We've talked about it a little bit. I can't hear myself. This is a much more comfortable setup for me.
Well, my kid brought home another bug from daycare, dude. So I'm a little froggy. I know you said
sick for 2 months.
Yeah, you said you heard it right away when we jumped on here, and
yeah, you sound like shit.
Yeah, well, coughing a little bit. I mean, if don't ask me to hit a high note, it ain't happening tonight. I got some ibuprofen on deck right here, a little water bottle in case I really get going. It is what it is, man. We're gonna make it through, and we're gonna do the best we can. I don't know exactly
the best we can.
I don't know if I even brought it up to you, but the last time we did our last episode last week, and we had it was like 6 or 7 minutes of banter, not a lot. I mean, our show is like an hour and 20 minutes. We did 6 minutes at the beginning, I think, talking about being older and whatever else, and then there were like 7 comments on YouTube just dogging us, and I think it was the same person using different accounts because it was exactly the same wording and verbiage and horrible typing and grammar, and guy just sounded like a knuckle dragging.
Just upset that we were talking anything other than sports.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude,
stick to sports.
It's freaking May. All right, we did 80 minutes of material, and 6 of them were not.
I'm gonna be honest. I am grateful and appreciative of anybody that listens, but at the end of the day, dude, we're gonna talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. Otherwise, why even do it? That's how all of this works.
It was just,
we do what we like to do. If we want to talk about being old and weird sounds emitting from our bodies and aches and pains that we have and whatever medications we're on, we're just going to do that.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to go.
I don't know. I was just like, what, man? And it was even less than we've done before. I feel like it was that much last week. And I'm like, what the hell, man? Get lost.
Listen, we can never spend enough time talking about our bodies. That's where I stand. So
yeah, I mean, torsos and balds and whatever else we got.
Whatever we need to get off our chest.
But we actually do have a pretty good show tonight too, and we ended up putting together a pretty good one last week, I think, as well. Chris got the fancy schmans. I just realized.
Listen, I got the pinkies up back, the new microphones back. I figured, a little Chardonnay in the glass tonight. Let's do it right.
That's
weather
special.
Outside is beautiful.
It is.
I cut the grass. I weed whacked today. We're getting the pool ready.
I don't really want to get started on my grass. If you go out there, you will get lost right now. It's bad. And I got the first house when you come into the subdivision. I know my neighbors hate it.
It's like Jumanji out there.
Oh, dude, there's monkeys and all sorts of shit running around out there.
No, CJ, this is the right show. Your boy likes the Chardonnay. I'm not so much of a liquor guy. I'm not really. The only beer I really drink is from Wolverine State Brewing Company. Outside of that, it's mostly Chardonnay in the glass. Shameless
plug. Speaking of, my aunt and uncle stopped by the house and wanted to check out Rosie. Where we. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, me and Chris live in pretty populated subdivision areas. Not exactly the place you want to store a 30-foot RV branded with what we do. So my parents have let us keep it at their house. They live out in the country. My dad's got a barn off to the side. We just throw it out there, and that's
RV territory out there
all day long. So my aunt and uncle decided they were staying at the house because they had to do some traveling. They come from way up north anyway. They went inside to check it out, just looking around at stuff. My uncle calls me. He's like, Brandon, before you do anything with the RV, make sure you take care of the refrigerator. Apparently, some beer has turned in a very bad way in the refrigerator right now.
My wife asked me, she's like, do you think it's still good in there? I'm like, no, absolutely not. There's been some warm days out there.
I don't know what word you want to use, but good is not on the list, according to Uncle Mikey. And he would know. You got a chance to meet Uncle Mike. He's the one that hooked up the tires
in the fridge. It happens. Listen, it's a man's RV. It's a sports RV. There's bound to be some things like that happening.
We don't know what kind of fluids are going to be in there, but there's going to be some fluids.
There have been multiple.
We'll just let's put it that way. Fluids are
many
present.
Fluids in the
fluids
RV.
are present. All right. So there's our 5.5 minutes of banter. Whoever didn't like it can suck balls. I hope he's watching. I don't know who it was, but I want him to just take it, dude. That's what I want. I really wanted to shoot for like 5, 6, 7 minutes of banter, just like we did last week.
There you go. Jared Johnson will drink it down. He'll drink the beer. I'll scoop it all up. Jared, I'll get it to you there in about a month. Let's get a handful of more warm days underneath it before
I'll fix that for you, Jared. You'll chew it is what you'll do. You'll chew the beer down. Yeah, it's viscous.
It's now an edible.
Anyway, all right. Well, Chris, one of the bigger things that happened since our last show involved one of the bigger dudes on campus, Hunter Dickinson.
Formerly on campus.
Thank you very much. Hunter Dickinson is now a Kansas Jayhawk. And that's not really the surprising part. I mean, we both talked about it last week. Like, he was 2 feet out the door. Michigan was technically still on his list, but in fact, I think it might have even been later that night. He put a statement out saying that he wasn't coming back to Michigan. He hadn't announced where he was going yet, but he thanked the Michigan community and the family, that whole like canned thing that everybody does when they leave a school, whatever. It's fine.
Like that was pretty obvious. I mean, to me, the idea that he would return after, nearly a month of shopping around, that just seems so far-fetched, but there were a lot of people in the fan base that thought it was a very realistic possibility.
Yeah. I mean, because he never did that, I think that's the only reason why. Like, he wasn't talking much about Michigan. He was taking plenty of other visits, but it was he never came out and declared for sure that he wasn't coming back.
Heartfelt goodbye. Right. Yeah.
So once he did that, though, okay, obviously, like, the obvious happened. He's not coming back to Michigan. He settled on Kansas. And then he made news not only by deciding to go to Kansas, but I guess because of the reason. And we've talked about dude, I mean, if we had $1 for every time we talked about the NIL efforts at Michigan, we could fund the NIL efforts at Michigan. Like, we bring it up all the time, and that Michigan is falling short. Hunter Dickinson's been one of the more outspoken athletes on this topic, and on his way out, whether you love it or hate it, however he did it, the fact that he's leaving, if you think he should have stayed, that doesn't really matter at this point. But what he said kind of rings true to what we've heard all along, and I think you reposted Juwan Howard talking about NIL stuff from, when was that, like over a year ago?
That was last August. So it was prior to the Michigan basketball season. It was one of his early availabilities. And I remember we went into Chrysler, sat down with him in, I forget what conference room it was, but it was very casual. We were all sitting around a table. So very relaxed environment. And the topic of NIL came up, and Juwan Howard, you can go on the Facebook page and you can watch the video. But was very candid, was very honest. He flat out said, is NIL where I would like it to be at Michigan? No. Is it helping other programs? Yes. Do we have a collective here? No. Have I voiced, my opinion on this? Yes. And, he lumped himself in with the, with everybody in charge and all of the important people at Michigan, that everybody collectively needed to do a better job when it comes to NIL. But at the end of the day, he said that last August, and Michigan just lost their All-American center over the last month, and in large part due to, NIL. And this is where I think people are split, because, Dickinson came out and he said he had made less than 6 figures on NIL. And some people are going to look at that and say, well, you made 6 figures, last year on NIL. Like, it's pretty incredible for a college kid to make whatever. I've seen the estimates between $70,000 and $80,000 roughly that he made. But when you look at the market in general and what a 7-foot, All-American center can get on the market in some of these other places where NIL is a little more, put together and there's something behind it. Hunter Dickinson wasn't what he could make, so wasn't making at Michigan what he could make elsewhere. And that played a large factor into his decision to ultimately go to Kansas. And I'll say this as well, like, it's easy to, hate is a strong word, but to, take issue with Dickinson's reasoning for why he left, especially when NIL is a big part of it. But Brandon and I have talked about this quite a bit. I don't believe Hunter Dickinson has a if he has any future in the NBA at all, I don't think it's going to be very long. And so if you're in his position and you want to try to capitalize on as much money while you're in college as you can, as such a hot commodity, it's hard for me to blame him on that. And then when you take into account the team didn't do very well either, the prospects for next year. I mean, I know Juwan's brought in some talent from the transfer portal, but who knows what this Michigan team is going to look like. He went to a contender. He went to a place where he's getting clearly more money from an NIL standpoint. He put himself in a better position. And I guess it's easy to look at him and be, like take issue with the fact that, okay, you chose yourself over the team, which kind of goes against everything we used to think about college sports. But this really speaks to how different the landscape is now.
It feels like that a little bit, man. It does. It's a little bit of a kick in the pants, and it kind of removes the pageantry and the loyalty to your team, the 4-year guy, all that stuff. I understand, and Brady, I see Brady Gallagher right here, talk about being greedy. Dude, like, all right, today's Wednesday. Finish out the rest. Brady, I have no idea what you do. No idea what you do. Finish out the rest of this week at your job. Then Monday, you do have to go to a new location, but you're going to do the exact same work for 5 times the salary. Sound good? I mean, come on, man. Like, who's not doing that? Oh, and by the way, you're 21. You don't have a wife or kids or even a job, really. You're going to do it's actually like, what's your hobby, Brady? I don't know. You build toy cars. You can build toy cars for 5 times the amount of money you just did it for the last 3 years, or really just the last couple of years. Yeah. I just can't. I can't go there with my feelings about it. Does it kind of rub you the wrong way? Does it feel like he's ditching your team? It does. But how could you not? How could you blame him? And who would not make that same exact decision?
And to his credit, and I think he might have said this on his podcast, that Round Ball podcast, which is just god awful. If you haven't listened to it, I recommend you listen to it at least once, so maybe you have something to compare our podcast to, because it really makes us sound a lot better if you listen to that podcast for about 10 minutes. But this was his quote as far as how he felt about Michigan and why he left on his podcast. He said, I quote, "I still do love Michigan. That's why it was so hard to leave, because I really didn't want to leave. I didn't, but I felt like man, it was the best decision for me. It took a lot of courage. I don't think people realize how much courage it took for a guy who was there for 3 years, an All-American for the team. I did have a legacy there, and I basically gave that up to try to be selfish and do what's best for me and my career, and not what's best for anybody else's career." So right there, I mean, he says flat out, like, I had to make a selfish move. I had to look out for myself and do what's best for me. And so I can see why some Michigan fans would look at that and be like, well, that guy fucking sucks.
He's always been a good quote. There's not a lot of professional athletes who would say that.
Yeah.
I mean, you might not like it, but damn it, do I respect it?
Damn it, I respect.
From Anchorman, but that's
unvarnished, the honest truth.
I love
that. A selfish decision. I did what was best for me. And I think in an era where, people in the media and fans are so desperate to just shoot it straight. Tell me exactly what's going on. He did. And in some ways, there's a lot of people that aren't happy with him for it, but at least he was straight up and honest about why he left. And now I think if you're a Michigan fan and you're wondering what's next for the basketball program in terms of the recruiting trail and what Juwan Howard's going to be doing in the transfer portal, I think this is something, what Dickinson said on the way out, is something you really got to be a little bit concerned with if you're talking about trying to bring in premier talent to get this program back to where it needs to be, because it's not the same animal. People want to compare Juwan Howard to John Beilein all the time. John Beilein didn't have to deal with NIL. He didn't have to really deal with the transfer portal. Juwan Howard's got a whole new set of issues he's got to deal with. And if the basketball program isn't benefiting from NIL in the same way that the football program is, or the same way, more importantly, that other basketball programs around the country are, it's going to make things difficult for Howard and this Michigan basketball team to get back on track, particularly after a year where they didn't even make the NCAA tournament.
That is one area where, if you want to take up issue, is words like that are going to stick around as he takes off, and that's not cool. Like, that sucks.
But if it leads to substantial change,
that's true too.
Then I think it's a good thing. If the people at Michigan, now I will say this, I know that the champion circle thing is new. That is a collective in Ann Arbor that's designed to support all of the programs, not just the football program. And we'll see what happens with that. But again, it's a little bit, it's behind the 8 ball, because now you've already lost your All-American center to NIL, and he's talking about how lackluster it was during his time at Michigan. That's not a good selling point if you're on the recruiting trail trying to bring in top talent.
And I know people are going to respond aggressively to that because I have some experience in this area. Look, whenever I used to talk shit about Harbaugh, I didn't lose any games. I didn't call any bad play calls down by the goal line, and but me talking about it made it seem like I was doing something wrong. That's kind of what Hunter's doing here. It's not his fault that NIL is not good here, and it's not his fault that he's talking about it. And trust me, any kid who's involved in that level of recruiting, or any kid who's being recruited by Michigan and also by Kansas and also by Duke and all, they know. They know what's going on. Hunter Dickinson is not shedding any new light on anything, but it's still not the best look. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that him saying some of those things doesn't matter at all, but he didn't initiate the problems. He's not the reason for the problems, and he sure as shit isn't bringing him up for the first time. So It's hard to get real upset with him on every level, but people still will. And that's what's being a fan
because
is
fans
all
are
about.
emotional, man.
That's what
you're
it's all
tied into
about.
the program. You don't want to see anybody leave, and especially if they leave, you don't want to see them. It's apples to oranges, but similar to what we saw to Cade McNamara when he transferred to Iowa and then had something to say about Michigan's medical staff and the way that they went through, in dealing with his injury. I mean, it always stings a little bit when somebody who was a part of the university and part of the program has some not so good things to say on the way out. But in terms of what Dickinson said specifically, like you said, you and I have been talking about NIL for a while and how Michigan, it could be so much better in Ann Arbor for the athletes. And if Dickinson's comments help bring in change, then I think it's overall a good thing. But in the short term, in the near term, there's no doubt that if you're in the portal, which, I don't know how much NIL is coming your way if you're in the portal anyway. But if you're a top tier recruit, it's something that you have to consider. Like, is Michigan really a destination for me? Tough academically, not a lot of NIL there. And all I want to do is go play ball and then get to the league.
And oh, by the way, might not even be very good on the ball portion anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Kansas is a year removed from winning a national title. I mean, it's it is what it is. I mean, that's why that's why this has been a concern for a while, and why it never really seemed like Dickinson was coming back. I mean, there were too many things that other schools were able to offer that Michigan just couldn't. And I'm interested to see what ends up happening, Chris. You don't think he's got much of a future at all in the NBA. I can't argue it much, other than the fact that from one year to the next, he was able to develop a 3-point shot almost out of nowhere. Like, if he can continue to do that, maybe he can be.
But is it league level? You know what I mean?
No, I'm with you. I mean, it's going to be, if he had been given a good draft grade any of the last 2 or 3 years, he'd be in the league. And obviously that didn't happen. And now we know it wasn't because he was making millions in the NIL front, because he said he wasn't. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. And NIL in general. I mean, I'm still not, there's a collective kind of in place now for football. I don't know what's going to happen with basketball.
Well, the collective is in place for all of the champion circle is for.
That's for every sport. Okay.
Every single sport at the University of Michigan. But again, that just launched officially, a month ago. So it's you're talking, and again, you've already lost a guy like Hunter Dickinson because of this. And so it's nice to see that they're making progress there, but it's clear that it's still a lingering issue for, I get that the basketball program didn't have the kind of success that the football program had, but I don't think Michigan basketball should be struggling on the NIL front at all.
No, I mean, that's what we've talked about all along. If Michigan could get, because I think it was CJ Frazier up there said, couldn't we just get a booster to, pony? Yeah, they could. They absolutely could. It just, they don't, or they won't, or they haven't, or there's red tape created where there's not actually any red tape.
A year ago, Juwan Howard sat in a room and said, basically, I would like a collective. I would like more in place. And then almost a year later, he lost his All-American center because of it. So, I'm not going to say that was the entire reason, but there's been a considerable amount of time talked about NIL and why Dickinson chose to leave, and it seems like that played a pretty big factor.
And I saw somebody else mention, that Michigan won't even let them use the Block M, and they can't actually say Michigan quarterback JJ McCarthy like that, which is so crazy to me. I don't understand why that's so like.
I remember when I did an NIL thing with, I think it was Mozzie Smith, AJ Henning, and it was Andrell Anthony. So we're now just over 20 minutes into the show. Mozzie Smith came walking in. He had a pair of Michigan pants on with the Block M, and we were going to do a photo shoot. And he ended up getting another pair of pants while we were in the mall, so that the Block M wouldn't be present in the photo shoot. I mean, so. That's, I get that they're protective of it. I understand it, but it seems like these kids should be able to utilize what, is such a big selling point and could really, really help in NIL. And if anything, it just seems a little petty, to be honest.
It comes back to like the chicken or the egg argument. And for Michigan, they think they were first. That's what it is. I mean, so it's like, all right, well, that Block M's incredible, but it's got all this history, all these years, all this, all that. But right now, today, young fans, people out there, do they love that Block M because JJ McCarthy's got it on his arm, or do they love the M because JJ McCarthy's there? Do they love JJ because he's wearing the? It's just like,
and let's be honest, that Block M is as powerful as it is because you have look at the athletes that have played. Whether basketball or football, you talk about the Fab Five, Charles Woodson, Desmond Howard. Athletes have really made that Block M what it is. I know that they want to lean on the academic institution, but in terms of like why that is such a widely recognized symbol across the country, it's, you got to give athletes a lot of credit for that, and not allowing them to use that in certain situations, I just think is a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when NIL first kind of hit, there were like some branding things that had just got, not leaked, but like had been put out there on social, like what some schools were allowing and what others weren't, and this and that and the other. And I remember this was like day one. This is like the first day NIL rolled out. Like LSU dropped this whole big thing that was like, players can wear our gear. They can shoot photos or commercials inside the facilities. Like all this stuff that Michigan still isn't doing. And I don't know if they're ever going to do that. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it.
To give you any indication of how serious they are, now I don't know if it's still the case, but the last video I saw put out by Valiant, which is, again, another NIL group that helps support the football program, they did something at Mott Children's Hospital, and I believe JJ was wearing some Michigan gear. I think Blake Corum had some Michigan, and it was like blurred out. They had to pixelate it in the video. So like, the guys were at Mott Children's Hospital. There's Block M's in the hospital, and everywhere in the video, it's pixelated and blurred out because apparently they're not allowed to use anything Michigan related, it's just wild to me. I'm pretty sure there was like a therapy dog that had a Block M on its handkerchief, and that was also blurred out. Like, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
It sucks to talk about it like that because, I mean, if I've said it once, I've said it probably 25 times on various episodes. Michigan could be the best. They could be the best at NIL if it was just, open up the floodgates and let it roll. They could be.
There's a lot of red tape in Ann Arbor.
Lots. And we learned that. I don't think they're doing this anymore, but Chris and I have talked about, we personally reached out to guys about wanting to give them money for appearances. Come on the podcast, come to Wolverine State Brewing Company, come here, come there. And we were told by spokespeople at Michigan, players are not interested in doing that. We're not sure yet. This was very early on.
Turns out that wasn't true, by the way.
They never talked to the players about it because we talked to the players ourselves and like, we never said that. We want to do this. Like, what? So they were actively like roadblocking money and financial opportunities for these players. I don't think that's going on anymore because it's become very clear that this is not going away and no rules are being broken. And you see more and more players popping up with the car dealerships and this, that, the other. I don't think that part's happening anymore, but the fact that it was ever is ridiculous. And it certainly wasn't going on anywhere else. So yeah, man, just like I said, if we had $1 for every time we had to talk about this shit, man, we'd be doing well. But Hunter, I don't know, now 2 or 3 separate times has gone on a public forum and kind of laid it out for everybody about what's going on with NIL at Michigan. And if anybody knows, it's going to be that guy. And
I mean, like him or not, premier player, should have been the guy on the receiving end of the most NIL dollars. And he made, you know, like I said, anywhere from 70 to 80 grand, according to some reports. So, you know, some of the other guys on the team couldn't have been doing too well that aren't nearly as marketable as a guy like that. And again, you just hope that the folks in Michigan and some, you know, at least this one collective that's in place really starts to get humming along, because it's going to be difficult for Michigan to compete on the recruiting trail, at least on the basketball side of things, if they also can't bring NIL dollars to the table.
All right. Well, on to the football front, Chris. Michigan's number 1 ranked class in 2024 got a little bit better over the weekend. Another 4-star kid, a legacy kid, but I tweeted this out. I mean, like, sometimes you view a recruitment for a legacy, you know, a kid whose father played at Michigan, as a layup. And I don't think that's what this was, because we're talking about Channing Goodwin, the 4-star wide receiver out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And first things first, it's not a layup if you're talking about wide receivers, because he's not going to catch a lot of balls. I mean, that's just a flat out period of the situation.
I mean, unless there is a serious fundamental change in the way that Michigan runs its offense, and maybe that'll happen. You know, maybe we'll see some of that this year, and you'll continue to see a bit of a transition with a guy like Jaden Davis. But yeah, you're right. If you're a wide receiver, you know, 4-star or higher, I love Michigan to death. I can't imagine that Michigan would be top on my my priority list.
Yeah, and that's just the fact of the matter. Yes, having Jaden Davis, his really good friend and quarterback and current teammate, certainly helps. His dad played at Michigan. That certainly helps. But a lot of other big-time schools wanted him, and again, because of his position, I don't think that this was a layup. I do think Michigan had to work pretty hard for his commitment. I think having Jaden Davis in the fold was a big deal. And, you know, certainly the fact that he probably grew up wearing maize and blue at least some of the time didn't hurt. But, you know, he was deciding between around
everybody
20
on the
offers.
East Coast.
Yeah, he had around 20 offers.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest boys,
South Carolina,
weren't present for him, but it's a good player. I mean, you put his tape on, he's a good-looking player. He's 6'1", he's 180. You know, he'll probably play at 6'1", 6'2", 190, 195.
Yeah.
I like him on tape. He's got a rapport with quarterback Jaden Davis, obviously, and it just gives Michigan more momentum on the recruiting trail, more positive buzz, more points to that total that's keeping them at number 1 for now. And I don't know. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I generally don't when a kid commits, but a lot of times if I, you know, don't agree wholeheartedly with something, I'll say it. I see nothing wrong with this commitment at all.
Yeah, no, again, when you talk about what kind of wide receiver he is he, you know, is he at the elite level? I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I do think there's something to be said for he's already got chemistry with Jaden Davis, high school teammates. And so when you can bring that to the next level, I do think that's a big deal. The camaraderie is already there. The chemistry is already there. And then I saw Troy Flynn asking if Jordan Shipp is a possibility as well. He's absolutely a possibility. And I was watching the video live when Goodwin committed. And then following that commitment a little bit later on in the day, there's video of Jaden Davis, Channing Goodwin, and Jordan Shipp all like standing shoulder to shoulder celebrating the commitment. And so I think Jordan Shipp is not too far off, and that would be another 4-star wide out for the Wolverines. They've only got one wide receiver right now in that number 1 class in 2024, and that's Goodwin. And so, you know, Jordan Shipp seems like it just seems like it makes sense for the Wolverines to land him, but we'll see. We'll see.
The whole, like, we want to play together at the next level thing, that happens a lot less than you think.
Yeah.
But Michigan's got an example of it right now in Goodwin and Davis already. Now it starts to feel a little bit
feels like Jordan Shipp, like it.
Yeah,
it feels like that's like, okay, there's my quarterback and there's my other brother wide receiver. Like, it just feels like a good fit.
It's interesting, Channing Goodwin, when you look at his ranking. So 24/7 Sports own ranking has him quite high as the number 241 player in the country, 4-star kid. I mean, that's elite. If you're in the top 250 players in the entire country, you're an elite football player in high school. For the composite, which means they're factoring in On3, Rivals, ESPN, the other services.
Well, On3 is going to bring that number down significantly.
He drops down to number 512. And is just a 3-star prospect. But again,
what is it with On3, by the way? This is a consistent theme that I see routinely with On3 in the way that their rankings come out. I mean, they've got Michigan right now with like the 5th or 6th rated recruiting class in the country. I don't even think they have Jaden Davis as a 5-star. I believe he's a 4-star according to On3. I feel like every time I see an On3 ranking come out, I'm like, what the hell is this? Significantly lower than most of the other recruiting sites.
We could ask some of the workers at the 24/7 Michigan site. They probably have a pretty good opinion of what's going on there. I don't know. Man, I'm glad I'm not involved in that bullshit anymore. How about that, huh? That's wild. It's a wild ride out there. But that's a good commitment for Michigan. I like that kid on tape. And again, the rapport with Davis, the legacy. And man, look, I'll be the first to tell you, I covered recruiting for a long time. I got really sick and tired of the it's a good kid. Man, you got to – I don't care. Is he a badass? Does he wreck people? Does he score touchdowns at will?
Can he ball?
Shit? That's all. I really I'm not going to lie. I wrote it in articles. I would bring it up occasionally. But in my mind, I was thinking, I don't care if he punched his mom. Can he – well, that was a little aggressive with Mother's Day around the corner. Sorry, Mom. I love you. But my point is I want dogs. You want dogs. You want guys who will make plays. You want guys who will win football games. But I got to be honest. Maybe it's because I'm a dad now, and I have a soft spot. Dude, Channing Goodwin talking about his family and committing to Michigan and what his siblings meant to him and what his mom meant to him and what I'm a fan of that kid. And I want that kid to absolutely crush it no matter what he does.
Well, listen, I will say this, and we've had the we've been fortunate enough to be able to spend some time around this football team and this collection of players. And I don't think it's any coincidence that they all seem like really, really good people. And we constantly use JJ McCarthy as an example, but he's certainly not the only one. I mean, Blake, there is a lot of really good guys on this football program. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the culture at Michigan is also the best it's ever been. And so I do think there's something to, you want really good people on your roster. Like, obviously you want them to be dogs and great football players, but you also want them to be good human beings and know what the importance of buying in is and camaraderie and all that stuff. And Michigan has that right now. And so I think they're going to do everything they can to keep that going. And a guy like Channing Goodwin, certainly, if you watch his commitment, he seems to really fit the bill.
I mean, dude, you don't have to look any farther than a year-to-year comparison in Michigan from 2020 to 2021 because there was a massive culture shift. They got rid of some people. They got rid of some coaches. Those two teams weren't vastly different in talent, but the results couldn't have been more different. And then, we heard what we thought might be just lip service in the preseason and Big Ten media days. We're like, all right, well, we'll see. And
I remember talking about that.
There's no question.
Because all we heard was, they're playing music at practice now and the culture this and the culture that. And we were like, okay, well, you've also lost 5 straight to Ohio State. And, so we were hesitant to buy in, and it turns out it was real. I mean, it was real. And then when you have the opportunity to be around them, you can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. I mean, like I said, I remember thinking when I used to cover recruiting only, I'm like, I'm really getting so sick of talking about how good of a kid this is. Like, I just want him to, just assault somebody on the field and just make plays, dude. That's all I want.
Like that tape of Braden McGregor, if you remember back during his recruitment, I think during his senior year, he grabbed, I don't know if it was a quarterback or a wide receiver, but he got in the backfield, basically picked the dude up like he was in WWE and tossed him down. And I was like, yes, that's who I want.
That's what we want. Yeah.
That's what I want right there. He's already tatted up. He's a senior in high school. Give me that dude.
He just got drafted, but Brian Brzee was like the most prime example of that. The D tackle that went to Clemson, his high school tape was just, it looked like you, Chris, playing against 5-year-olds. Just, ragdolling people with one hand. That's what I want to see.
Getting into arguments with the parents on the sideline.
Fighting
dads.
What
I want. That's what I need.
Yeah.
Shoving referees. Give me that guy.
Unbelievable. But yeah, so I like this pickup for Michigan. It looks like they're going to continue to have momentum over the next month. They've got a lot of guys coming in for official visits in the month of June before things settle back down again before camp starts.
How great is it right now to be a Michigan football
fan?
I mean, this is when you look at the last 2 decades and how difficult times have been for this program. Rich Rod, Brady Hoke, even the early years of the Jim Harbaugh era. Man, this is like, I feel like I say this a lot, but don't take this time for granted. The playoff field's going to widen next year. It's going to be more difficult to get to the ultimate prize. I just feel like this is a time where Michigan fans should really take the time to enjoy this because it feels like the stars are aligning for this football program.
I even heard in reference to this upcoming season, Spartan Radio the other day, man. Mike Valeni flat out said, he's like, oh, nobody's beating Michigan. I mean, they're
but he says shit like that too, just so he can set it up so that when it happens.
But you believe it, though, is the point. And I think he believes it, too. How could you not?
Maybe. He's still got a little turd in him, though.
They just beat the brakes off of Ohio State in Columbus last year. Now they got to come back to Ann Arbor. What magical formula is Ryan Day going to come up with without C.J. Stroud to beat Michigan in Ann Arbor?
That's going to be an interesting talking point for later in the show.
It will be. It will be. All right. People got to be loving this / hating this. You and I were in you might not have been there yet. We were in Arizona for Michigan's playoff game, and Tennessee was playing on in their bowl game. And one Bazooka Joe Milton.
I was there for that. I was watching.
You there yet? Okay, I couldn't remember if I was watching with you or somebody else. Bazooka Joe is starting to climb draft boards. He's gonna put up massive numbers this year.
Maybe.
Oh, there's no maybe about it, brother.
Wow.
You know it.
I mean, you got to hit your target.
Don't be bitter,
he looked
Chris.
I'm not, but listen, I was one of the bigger Joe Milton fans out there. I was hyping this kid up. I was buying in the Cam Newton comparison, all that shit. I was all aboard the Joe Milton train. And when he got his opportunity, granted, it was during a weird year, but let's be honest, he wasn't that good. And he got replaced by the guy who got replaced by J.J. McCarthy. So I feel like it's easy to love Joe Milton because the measurables are there. He looks the part, but I've seen a few polls come out now and a few rankings constantly putting Joe Milton above where J.J. McCarthy is in terms of a draft prospect, how good of a college quarterback they are. Milton is routinely ranked ahead of J.J. McCarthy, and I'm just puzzled by that because I get the excitement. You see the guy, in the Tennessee videos, they're putting out videos of him throwing an orange 100 yards across the pool. I was doing that too. I was putting out videos of him throwing a football out of Michigan Stadium. He was standing down in the field. He took a football and he threw it out of the stadium. It was incredible. But there's more to that position than just arm strength and having, a couple good games. He's going to have to put together a solid season. And I mean, I wish him all the luck in the world. I hope he does become a great draft prospect. I've got no ill will or bad feelings toward Joe Milton. I'm glad he's getting his opportunity, but the idea that he would be ranked above J.J. McCarthy as a college quarterback or even as an NFL prospect, to me, it's just a little bit, it's a little off. We'll just say that.
I'm trying to find that damn list because I was going to go through the other guys.
It's not just me, blank name, buying Joe Milton. There's a lot of people across the country that are buying into Joe Milton. You take a look at some of these, Pro Football Focus, On3, a lot of these different rankings that are coming out are coming from national outlets. And to me, it feels a lot like what Michigan fans, I don't want to say fell victim to, but what they bought into prior to Joe Milton taking over, which was you could see the size, you could see the intangibles, you could see the potential in a quarterback like that, and it just didn't materialize in Ann Arbor. So we'll see. We'll see what happens at Tennessee, but we need to get a full year of Joe Milton before we start putting him as like a top 5 draft prospect.
Here's what we have right here. I found the list. It was put out by On3.
But isn't it via PFF though?
Oh, it is. Yeah, you're right. Per PFF. Okay, so
it's nice how they tuck that in there real tiny, right?
The top 10 NFL quarterback prospects heading into the next NFL draft. So after this football season, the 2024 draft, number 1 and 2 are probably may not change the whole year. It's number 1, Caleb Williams from USC. Number 2, Drake May from North Carolina. Number 3, Michael Penix from Washington.
Okay, that raised my eyebrows raised when I saw that a little bit. Good
Number 4, Quinn Ewers, who was the number 1 prospect in the country, but he hasn't done a whole lot yet. I mean, he was productive last year. Texas is kind of a dark horse national title team this year. They are very talented.
Aren't they always every year?
Texas Xavier Worthy, Michigan fans love him. He looks like he's going to be the best wide receiver in the country. There you go. Number 5, Bo Nix. Not buying that all. Wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole for my NFL team. Number 6, Jordan Travis from Florida State. I've watched the kid play. He does do some nice things. To me, he looks like Russell Wilson, like wine cooler. I can't even say Russell Wilson light. He's like a wine cooler version of Russell Wilson. I just don't think he's going to be very good in the pros. Then number 7, you've got Bazooka Joe Milton.
Number 7 at number 7, Bazooka Joe.
And then at number 8,
right behind him,
you've got JJ McCarthy.
There you go. See,
Number 9, Jaden Daniels, former Arizona State quarterback, transferred to LSU. And number 10, Sam Hartman, who's now at Notre Dame. So Russell Wilson is a wine cooler. Mr. Incredible. What's his name? Mr. Unlimited. That's
Center of the field, just spinning with your arms out, right?
God, that guy's weird. And he sucks now. I don't understand what happened to him. All right, anyway.
What were those Subway commercials he was putting out where he was like uncomfortably enjoying his
He was like, what's up? You ever tongue jack a foot long? I'm like, Jesus, Russell, you need to relax.
To do dangerous things. Yeah, me too. I like to live dangerously.
You ever tongue jack the back end of a chicken teriyaki naked? I'm like, all right, Russell, just calm down. Yeah, I think this is an interesting list. I was always really high on Joe Milton too. I've told this story. I went and saw him in high school. I was enamored. I mean, he was 6'5", 230 in high school. I was like, dude, I love this kid. He's going to be a star at Michigan.
Yeah.
And the Michigan coaches thought so too. And by the way, I know he's had some problems on Saturdays when the lights come on. He won the job at Michigan. Then he goes to Tennessee and wins the job over Hendon Hooker, who just got drafted by the Lions in the third round.
Wasn't Hooker injured? Isn't that why he got the job?
Milton won the job to start the season and then blew like he has.
And then lost the job.
And then lost it to Hooker, who then blew up. Yeah. So I don't know what he does during training camp, but he's apparently awesome. And then when the season starts, he can't figure it out. I don't know. He figured it out in the bowl game. Yeah. And now he's climbing draft lists. I mean, when you look at that list, biggest, tallest, Milton. Heaviest, Milton. Strongest arm, Milton. Fastest,
see, that was when he was here at Michigan. I was surprised by the lack of mobility. I thought we would get more out of him in terms of
for one,
the threat he had. But he's a big dude.
For one, he's not quick twitch and he's not shake and bake. I mean, he can go in a straight line, but he's not make you miss. He doesn't have a lot of wiggle. That's fine. That's important for pocket presence. You wonder about that a little bit at the next level too. I mean, which one of those guys can throw an orange the farthest?
I was just going to say, how many of those guys can toss a football outside of Michigan State? Not a lot.
Yeah, he's special physical talent. There's no doubt about it. But there's a lot more to the position than that, and everybody knows that. But that is an interesting list.
What do you think? Let me ask you. Do you think right now, as of now, given everything that you've seen, not what the potential is, you think Joe Milton is a better draft prospect than JJ McCarthy right now?
Yes.
Wow.
I do. Draft prospect, yes. Next level NFL, arm talent, size, durability. Yes, I do.
So if you were in the war room of an NFL team right now and you had to make your decision now, you're going Bazooka Joe over JJ.
There's a lot of things that would factor into that. Do I have a bunch of young dumbasses that want to go out to the club every night?
Listen, we don't know those variables. I'm asking.
Well, if I'm in the war room, I certainly would.
Okay, but you're in the war room right now, and that's all you've got is lever for Bazooka Joe, lever for JJ.
This is an obnoxious question. I'm not answering this.
Oh, you got. There you go. Because
but because I think it's important. If you have
right now,
if you've got a shady locker room and you need some super glue, you're not finding a better dude than JJ McCarthy. If you've got a veteran-laden team that doesn't need leadership from a young quarterback, then JJ's value drops a little bit. I mean, there's factors.
You've seen enough though that you think Joe Milton can lead an NFL team?
No.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
That's why I'm not. But I don't know if JJ. Oh, dude, that's a tough question.
I trust that JJ can be good at the next level and consistently good. I trust what I get out of JJ from game to game. I've only seen Joe Milton have a handful of good games at the collegiate level at this point. He looks the part, every bit the part of an NFL.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Oh man, it's just that dude.
If he was the same size as JJ McCarthy, this would be a no-brainer.
Yeah,
same height, same weight.
Yeah, it would
be JJ all day long.
Same arm strength, same. Yeah. But I mean, somebody said it in the comments right there. Like Anthony Richardson just went top 5 overall. I mean, like, dude.
Yeah.
Come on, that's what happens in the NFL, and you get enamored with those skills that you can never ever teach. Like you can teach these guys everything on the planet. They're never going to be as big. They're never going to be as strong. They're never going to have as strong of an arm. And
who's the quarterback from BYU? Didn't he go top 5 the year prior?
BYU? Oh yeah, Zach Wilson to the Jets.
You know, the mom, the
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, how did that work out?
Not good, but the Jets also blow.
Yeah, well, good point.
I mean, dude, you realize they haven't? I saw this stat the other day. The Jets have not had a 4,000-yard passer since Joe Namath.
I could see that. Jets.
Chris,
my boy out of New York is a big Jets fan. By
for
the way,
$6, can you name the NFL team that has never had a 4,000-yard passer? For the record, Jared Goff did it last year for the Lions.
Oh, okay, because my gut was going to say.
And Stafford, Stafford chucked it for 5,000 at least once.
You know, I'm not a big NFL guy though. Let's see here.
Never had a quarterback worth a bent dick over here is what I'm talking about. It's been a long CJ. It's been a long time for the Bears, but they have had one.
I wanted to say Tampa Bay. But then I was thinking, okay, Tom Brady
just did it last year.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. I have no idea.
It's the Cleveland Browns. Sean Bennett wins
damn
the
it.
trivia.
That would have been. See, the Browns are so irrelevant they didn't even come to mind.
Yeah, Cleveland Browns have never had a 4,000-yard passer in the history of their franchise, and that's an old franchise. It's not like I mean, that's one of the original ones. So I found that interesting, but yeah. That's a hell of a list, dude.
Johnny Manziel was supposed to turn that whole franchise around.
As soon as I saw that, Johnny Manziel,
Johnny
jail.
Football.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, Milton ahead of JJ. That is just a very, very interesting.
It's egregious.
Graphic to look at. Egregious.
It's egregious and offensive. Wow. You need to put some respect on JJ McCarthy's name. Just because he plays in an offense that doesn't necessarily allow him to toss it 50 times a game doesn't mean he couldn't go. Dude, if JJ McCarthy played at like Texas Tech or something like that, he'd be racking up the numbers. But he plays in Michigan, and that's fine.
Well, that's just it. I mean,
I think he's a better NFL prospect.
But you have to take that into
a little bit.
You have to take that into account when you're cutting up tape and you're watching every throw. That's why Western Kentucky quarterbacks make it to the league. They've got 10,000 throws to look at, and you can say he either can or can't do it. And that's why Bailey Zappi's running shit out in New England, dude. That's why.
Chucking it 75 times a game.
It's part of the equation. It's going to be a lot of fun. Dude, Joe Milton's going to be on Heisman lists this year.
For a little while.
He will be. He's going to put up the kind of numbers in Heupel's offense with Tennessee that's going to allow him to be on the Heisman list. I guess I'm just a little snake bitten when it comes to Joe Milton. I thought he was going to be that dude at Michigan, and he just, and I get it. It was a weird year, 2020, short season, a lot of weird shit going on. Team wasn't on track. Chemistry sucked. But I don't know, man.
very, very lackluster time.
Let me ask. Here's another really fun question. What does Michigan's 2021 and 2022 season look like with Joe Milton at quarterback? Any different?
Yeah.
You think?
I do think so. Yeah. I think Cade McNamara played his role well. I think JJ McCarthy played his role well. And I think, again, speculating, but I feel like Joe Milton would have made more mistakes. Costly mistakes. Maybe the first touchdown throw by JJ to Cornelius Johnson goes 9 rows deep at Columbus. Yes, shit like that. Yeah, that's like fair. Fair. That pass to Colston Loveland also hit him in stride. I could see that being, 20 yards ahead of Loveland. That type of shit. I don't know, though. When you watch what Milton was able to do in that bowl game, it seemed like... Yes, in that one game, he looked incredible. He's tagging receivers on the run. He's he's also decapitating fans with throwaways. You give me 13 games behind center at the collegiate level, I'll put together a solid game. Well... Just going to pump the brakes on that one. Just a hair. A hair. You think your boy could go 7 for 8 in the fourth quarter? 7 for 8 in the fourth quarter? Yeah. You'd be in traction with an oxygen tank on by the fourth quarter. What are we doing here? Chris is I may be just overestimating my talents a little. Laying on the bench. Can I please get a Chardonnay? And I just play with an oxygen mask. Yeah, is that possible? On. Chris is back there wheeling on my back like a backpack. I like it. All right, Chris. I'm going to hand it off to you. You've got the numbers over there. I do not have them in front of me, but over under from win totals in the Big Ten by Caesar Sportsbook is pretty intriguing and pretty fun to talk about at this current time. It is. So recently Caesar Sportsbook put out what they believe or what they have as the over-unders for the win totals for the Big Ten football programs this upcoming season. Not surprisingly, Michigan's leading the way with the best odds, but we're just going to go through them. We're going to go through all 14 teams. I'm going to give Brandon the over-under. We're going to talk about whether or not we're going to take the over and the under. And it starts with number 1, Michigan getting 10.5 from Caesars. Over under 10.5 for the Wolverines. Over. Easy. I think that's an easy over. I mean, I think they've got right now what I would call 2 losable games, but I don't even. I just can't. Like I just talked about earlier, that Penn State game. Penn State game may end up being tougher than the Ohio State game, depending on what happens at quarterback for them. And like I said, what magical formula is Ryan Day going to come up with that's going to suddenly work this year? I don't think there is one. Try not to get our ass beat is what he's going to tell his team, because the Wolverines, I think it's going to be another 40-something to 20-something outing. I mean, I don't think Michigan loses both of those, and if they don't, they win 11 games. So yeah. Well, does that count? That's just regular season win totals, correct? Just regular season win totals, yeah. So they got to go 11-1. I mean, that's not easy to do, but that's what I would pick, at least that right now. If I look down their schedule, I went game by game. I'm putting dubs next to every one of them. Absolutely. Number 2, they also have Ohio State at 10.5. The odds are a little bit more in favor for Michigan to do it, but Ohio State at 10.5. You taking the over or the under? I would love to take the under. Where do they play Penn State? I believe that's in Columbus this year. Let me double check just to make sure here. That's going to swing your vote, because I think they beat Penn State in Columbus. I think there's a real shot they lose that one in Happy Valley, especially again the quarterback situation. We don't know. When is that? Troy, so they are home. So Ohio State is at Indiana. Then they've got Youngstown State, Western Kentucky, and then they're at Notre Dame. Ooh. Maryland, at Purdue, home against Penn State, at Wisconsin with Luke Fickell out there, and a transfer quarterback who threw 75 touchdowns in 2 seasons, I think with SMU, maybe. Mordecai, I'm not sure. Tanner Mordecai. So at Rutgers, home against Michigan State, home Minnesota, and then at Michigan. So at Michigan, home against Penn State, and at Notre Dame. I mean, there's 3 losable games right there for the Buckeyes, especially when you look at Kyle McCord, the question marks on the offensive line. I know Ohio State's going to be good, but Are they going to be elite every single year? I don't know.
Notre Dame with a new quarterback as well, but an experienced one.
And it's in South Bend.
And it's in the
Bend. They're going to be up for that game. A beatable Buckeyes team early in the year.
Give me the fucking under, bro.
Ooh,
give me the under.
That might be Ryan Day's last year. Probably will be. Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Penn State, the over-under set at 9.5. You taking the over, the under? 9.5 for Penn State.
So they dropped.
They've got Michigan at home. They've got Ohio State on the road.
I think that's over. I think they win 10 games. Who else is beating them?
Again, I could pull up the God damn it, I'll pull up their schedule too. Let's see.
I should be doing that as you're asking me. Penn State schedule.
Let's see here. Hold, please. All right, so they've got West Virginia at home to open the season. At Illinois is going to be tough. They do have Iowa at home. We'll see. Cade McNamara. I know they just pulled in the wide receiver transfer from Ohio State. At Ohio State for Penn State. Then they've got Michigan. And then they finish in East Lansing against Michigan State, who's probably going to be dog shit. So
you said 9.5?
9.5.
You call me 009.5.
I think I'm taking the over.
I think I'm taking the over too.
The over with Penn State.
Yeah, losses to Michigan, losses to Ohio State.
So we are over on Michigan at 10.5, under on Ohio State at 10.5, over Penn State 9.5. Next up, number 4, we got Wisconsin with 8.5. The over under set at 8.5 for Wisconsin. Luke Fickell's first year out there in Cheesetown, whatever the hell you call it up there.
Cheesetown works. That's fine.
Cheesetown works just fine. Some curds. 8.5 for Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin, I mean, they're not playing Ohio State, right? They're not playing Michigan, or they are playing Ohio
Chris,
State.
I need a yes or no real quick. Is that neo-Nazi gentleman still alive in Wisconsin in Madison?
Over under on.
He's still alive.
My gut tells me no. My gut tells me no, and I have a feeling that COVID may have taken him away from us.
Oh, Jesus.
He seemed pretty against any sort of vaccinations from like the beginning of mankind. So
he was about as resilient as a baby bird. I mean, that's what he just looked. His skin looked like a baby. He was Mr. Burns. I
don't know if he made it through that night. I'm not sure. That might have been the last conversation he had.
Custer's last stand right there in that yard for him. Maybe.
For those who don't know, we went to Wisconsin. What was that, in 2021?
Well, we told the story. That was a very
but for those out there that don't know, we were in Wisconsin. We parked somewhere. We were getting back to our vehicle after the game, and then this old timer. He was, how old do you think he was, Brandon? 106, 107? He brought the game of soccer.
He invented soccer in the state of Wisconsin.
Or was it? I thought it was all of United States. So he brought soccer to Wisconsin.
Yep.
You know, and again, I don't care where you stand on vaccination. Never had a vaccination in his life. Told me that, you know, so he was just told me I was a little bit overweight, said I needed to get in shape, you know.
That was fun.
That was fun.
He was talking about the governor and just wild shit. This dude was
just put
a microphone in front of him and see how long he lasts anywhere. It would have not been a long run.
My gut feeling says he's no longer with us. But anyway, Wisconsin at 8.5. Caesar's putting them at 8.5. You taking the over under? I don't have the schedule in front of me,
dude. I think they win 9 games.
Yeah. What are the big traps there?
So they go on the road at Washington State, second week of the season. That's interesting just because it's so far away and a weird, weird game, weird location. But here's their opponents. Home Buffalo, at Washington State, home Georgia Southern, at Purdue. Purdue can be weird.
Yeah, but they're also replacing a quarterback who was there for 6 years.
They usually beat a team they shouldn't beat, but I'd give Wisconsin the edge in that. Home Rutgers, home Iowa, at Illinois, I'd give them an L.
Okay.
Home Ohio State, I'd give them an L. At Indiana, home Northwestern, home Nebraska, at Minnesota, L. That's 9-3.
There you go. So the over at 8.5. I think I agree.
I give them the over.
Now, here, the next one, number 5. Most people think this is a lock, and I'm talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes. So according to Caesars, the over-under is set at 7.5 wins for the Iowa Hawkeyes. A lot of people think that's safe money right there. They think that Iowa's going to get at least 8 wins on the season. Again, you've got Cade McNamara. You've got I can't remember who the hell's the wide receiver they got from Ohio State. He just transferred in. And then, of course, you got Eric All. Right, so you got Eric All, tight end there. They've made some upgrades, but it's still Iowa. It's still going to be that offense. What are you taking? Over under at 7.5.
All right, I'm going to go right down it. Here we go. Home Utah State, dub. At Iowa State, dub. Western Michigan, dub. At Penn State, loss. Michigan State, win. Purdue, win. At Wisconsin, loss. Home Minnesota, win. Home Northwestern, win. Home Rutgers, win. Home, they got 4 home games in a row, basically, to close out the season. Home Illinois. Dude, even if you give their last 2 games a loss, home Illinois and at Nebraska, you still got 8 wins. That's over.
There you go. Yeah, taking the over. I think a lot of people are taking the over. They think that's smart money. Next up, I don't know why. Maryland is set at 7.
Maryland?
That was how it was listed, 7. I've got to imagine that's 7.5, and it must be a typo on there.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they give push numbers. It's not always a half.
Well, let's put it at 7 for Maryland.
Maryland schedule. I'm
trying
to pull these up.
Experienced veteran quarterback.
Yeah.
Tagovailoa.
All right, here we go. You ready? Towson, win. Charlotte, win. Virginia, win. At Michigan State.
To me, that's a dub.
I'd say it's a win, but that's home Indiana, win.
Dub.
At Ohio State, there's a loss. Illinois home, that's a loss. Illinois doesn't. They're not going to be what they were last year.
Buying into Bielema?
Yeah, a little bit.
They brought in another quarterback transfer too.
They lost their running back though, right?
They did, yeah, Chase Brown. But they brought in. They replaced DeVito with another transfer quarterback.
I'm going loss. At Ohio State, lost. Illinois lost. At Northwestern, win. Penn State loss. At Nebraska, loss. Michigan loss. At Rutgers, win. I got them 7-5. I got to push. I got them at 7-5.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's a program that I feel like I don't know. They've kind of been in limbo for a while. You know that.
Is Gaddis the OC now? There,
he is the OC. Yes,
I love it. God, I love it.
Absolutely is the OC. Phenomenal stuff. Illinois, you seem to be all in on the Bielema train here. Caesars has them at 6.5 on the year. 6.5 for the Fighting Illini, the Fighting Bielema.
Does that sound like smart money? 6.5.
6.5.
So they got to win. They can only lose 5 games. Here we go. Toledo, win. At Kansas, win. Penn State, loss. FAU, win. At Purdue, win. Nebraska, loss. At Maryland, lost. Wisconsin, loss. At Minnesota, loss. Indiana, win. At 6-6. That's the under.
There you go. Taking the under. Absolutely.
That's the under train for Illinois. I just think they've got a couple. They've got some tough ones. Couple on the road that are tough. Yeah, give me the under on Illinois.
Next
up, keep track of all these.
Also at 6.5. Also at 6.5. We'll go with Minnesota. I was trying to come up with a name for our boy out there. What's his head coach's name?
Oh, Peach?
PJ Fleck. God damn it, the ball of energy. Frying my brain just to try to come up with it.
Old Gucci belt kid himself.
The plaid flex.
Old
plaid shoes.
The old designer Dons out there, dude.
He is a bald man, though, so I do.
Well,
somewhat of a kindred spirit there.
But his might be by choice. How do you feel about those guys?
No, it's not by choice. I could tell when we were at Big Ten Media Days. It is out of necessity.
All right, I'll let you have that. All right, Minnesota, home Nebraska. That's tough. I'm gonna go win.
Okay.
I think, Fickle will have to get it going a little bit. First game of the year. I'll give the home field and the experienced coach the edge. Eastern Michigan, win. At North Carolina, loss. At Northwestern, win. Louisiana, win. Michigan, loss. At Iowa, loss. Michigan State, win. Home Illinois. That's a tough one. Probably Probably a dub. At Purdue, win. Ohio State loss. Wisconsin loss. 7-5. Give me the over.
Taking the over. And then Nebraska also at 6.5 on the year. Nebraska 6.5. Your boy Rule out there, first year. They got a new quarterback. Lost Thompson to the transfer portal. He's on FAU now. From Texas to Nebraska to FAU.
Who is Nebraska's quarterback now?
I forget what his name is, but I mean, he looks decent, kind of looks the part. Looks like he might be a bit of a dual threat. We'll see.
I don't know who this Nick guy is, but I'm about to whoop some ass. This is 2 weeks in a row now. He's banging on my glasses. I do need a lozenge. I talked about it. I'm sick, bro.
Money to rip on you, so we have to allow
I'll take it. I'm sick, dude. I'm under the weather, man. Trying to make it. And I do think Drew Aller is the real deal. I think he's going to be really good by the end of the season. You'll have some bumps in the road. He's a young guy, but I think he's going to be really good. He's really talented. Who are we on? Nebraska?
6.5 for Nebraska. 6.5 for the Cornhuskers.
At Minnesota. I said L, right?
Yes.
I did. I said L. At Colorado. Win.
Ooh, against Dion out there?
They're
the transfer team?
Their win total is set at like 3.5, dude. They are trash.
All right.
Northern Illinois, win. Louisiana Tech, win. Michigan, loss. At Illinois, loss. Northwestern, Purdue, Michigan State, wins. Maryland. They get them at home. I'm going to give them a dub. So Wisconsin, at Wisconsin, loss. Iowa, loss. 7-5.
7. Yeah, 7-5.
Over.
Over on Nebraska. Purdue, who's got to replace Aiden O'Connell, who was there for 75 years as quarterback, set pretty much every Purdue passing record you could set, I think, in terms of length of time being somewhere. Purdue, the win total set at 5. Had
the same mobility as Chris, oddly enough.
And hey.
What?
I'll take that over Spencer Petras.
That's actually who I was thinking of.
I'm a little more mobile than Petras.
You really think you're more mobile than any 20-year-old Division I athlete?
Listen, I saw Petras play up close and personal. Yes, I can tell you I could get out of the pocket quicker than he could.
2x4s.
It looked like he was running with cement blocks on his feet.
I know. All right. Purdue opens the year at home against Fresno. I don't know anything about Fresno.
So we'll just go dub.
I'll say dub. At Virginia Tech, L. Enter Sandman, brother. Home, Syracuse. That's another one I don't really know about, but they get them at home. I'll give them a dub. Wisconsin, L. Illinois, L. At Iowa, L. Ohio State, L. At Nebraska, L. At Michigan, L. And then wins out the rest of the way. So they're 5-7.
So it's a push. You take the 5.
They said it was 5 even?
5 even.
All right, that's why.
Now, here's where we get to the bottom of the barrel, Brandon. The worst of the worst, the most terrible Big Ten teams that conference has to offer. We'll get it started with Michigan State. Michigan State coming off of a 5-win season. Wait, what was it? 5-win season, missing the bowl season altogether. Caesars has their win total set at 4.5. 4.5 for 2023. Where do you go with this one?
That is awesome.
We're down to the nitty gritty here. We are down to the bottom of the barrel. Michigan State, by the way, getting the same odds as Rutgers at 4.5.
Is it the same odds too?
No. Okay. So the odds are a little bit better for Michigan State, but not by much, man. And the win total is the same.
All right. CMU win, Richmond win, Washington loss, Maryland loss, at Iowa loss, at Rutgers
loss.
I think it's a loss, dude. I think Shiano's going to chop some ass
with Noah Kim or whoever the hell else that other quarterback is.
Michigan loss, at Minnesota loss, Nebraska home. Late in the year, Fickle.
No.
Loss, dude.
You said Nebraska, right?
Rule. I meant Rule. Loss.
Yeah. Loss.
At Ohio State, loss. Indiana win, Penn State loss. They're going 3-9.
Wouldn't that be incredible?
Did I hear a 9er in there? You did. 3-9 for the Spartans.
3 wins for the Spartans. So that means Rutgers is sitting in a little bit of a better situation, maybe according to you. Again, Rutgers also set at 4.5 according to Caesars. Where are you at on the Scarlet Knights? We know they're beating Michigan State.
All right, home Northwestern win. Temple win. Home, they're also playing Virginia Tech. Weird. Home against Virginia Tech, that's probably an L.
Loss.
At Michigan, L. Wagner, apparently they're playing them like deep into the season, win. At Wisconsin, loss. Michigan State win. At Indiana, win. Ohio State, loss. Iowa, loss. Penn State, loss. Maryland, loss. I've got them over. I've got them at 5-7.
There you go. So Michigan State at 3 wins, Rutgers at 5 wins. That's where you got them?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's move it down. We've only got 2 teams left in the Big Ten right now. Indiana, according to Caesar, is getting a straight 4. 4 wins for the Indiana Hoosiers.
God,
this is Tom Allen's last year.
They've really fallen off, and I don't think they're going to do very well. All right, they opened the season against Ohio State.
By the way, got to replace Connor Bazelak, who's at Bowling Green now, and they also don't have Jack Tuttle, so who's at Michigan now. So they've really got some things to figure out. That Tice Jackson Davis or whatever the hell his name is, Trace Jackson Davis, his brother, quarterback now at Indiana, transferred in from, I believe, Tennessee, but they've got like a 3 or 4 guy race for that position right now.
Dude, is it crazy that Penix is still playing college football? He used to play there. That's wild. It was like 100 years ago.
Been around for a long time.
All right, Ohio State to open the season, L. Indiana State win. Louisville, L. Akron win. At Maryland, L. At Michigan, L. Rutgers, L. At Penn State, L. Wisconsin, L. Illinois, L. Michigan State. What did I say?
I can't remember what you had.
It's there. In Bloomington.
I mean, Michigan State, you got them at 3, so.
And Purdue, I think, is an L, so I got them at 3-9 also.
There you go. So taking the under at 4.
Yeah.
And finally, closing out our friends over there in the Chicago area, Northwestern at 3.5. Is Fitzgerald in some trouble out there?
Never.
I mean, they finished at the bottom of the barrel last year.
They won I didn't realize this. I saw somebody made like a fake Venn diagram about like teams that only won a game not in the United States. they were the only game they won was in Scotland.
There you go. Dude. So I mean,
or Ireland, wherever it was.
I know it's easy to love Fitzgerald, but at some point you got to win some football games out there, right?
1-11. Bite it. They don't even care.
You got 3 quarterbacks out there. Just brought in a transfer from Cincinnati who started at Eastern for a year. Back at Cincy, won the job there. Now he's at Northwestern. And I saw that his last name's Brian. I think it's Ben Bryant, the transfer from Cincinnati. Had a little message for A.J. Henning, who's in the transfer portal, maybe trying to get A.J. Henning back out there to Northwestern.
Where the hell would he go there?
The old stomping grounds. He's from Illinois.
If they're throwing, I'm going.
Listen, I'm telling you what, he better not go to Iowa. I like A.J. Henning, but if he goes out there and teams up with Cade McNamara and Eric Hall,
problems.
Be a little sour.
All right.
A little sour.
All right. Northwestern at Rutgers, L. UTEP, dub. At Duke, L. Minnesota, L. Penn State, L. Howard, dub. Gotta beat Howard, man. At Nebraska, L. Maryland, L. Iowa, L. At Wisconsin, L. Purdue, L. At Illinois, L.
10 losses.
2-10.
Under on 3.5 for the Wildcats from Northwestern. I just don't know how. Listen, I don't know how you go up from a 1-win season to a 2-win season and keep your job in the Big Ten. I don't know how you do it.
Get home safe, right? It's because it's Pat. It's Pat Fitzgerald. That's why. You cut that dude open, dude. He bleeds purple, bro. That's why.
I understand. I understand.
He wears lavender jackets everywhere he goes, dude.
Got to win some football games, though, Pat. Got to put together more than 3 wins in 2 years.
All right, we're at an hour and 15. This last topic is not a quick one, I don't think, Chris. What do you think? It's not time sensitive either. So what do you think?
Let's get into it because I put the poll up.
I'm really hungry
on Facebook. It doesn't have to be a long topic, but I am curious. And there was a part of me that wanted you and me to make a case for each guy, but I was surprised. I guess, a little bit surprised to see. So I put out on Facebook, who is under more pressure? Which rival head coach is under more pressure in 2023? Is it Ryan Day or is it Mel Tucker? Ryan Day's coming off of an 11-win season, won 11 games the year prior to that. Mel Tucker is coming off of a 5-7 season after a lucrative contract extension, missed bowl season altogether. Things aren't looking too hot this upcoming year, according to Caesars, and Brandon thinks he's got him at, 3 wins on the year. So given everything that's surrounding these two programs, who do you think is under the most pressure in 2023? Is it the guy who has been in the college football playoff, who's winning 11 plus games a year, or is it the guy who just came off of a 5-win season?
It is a debate you can have, but I ultimately think it's Melvin, and I don't really think it's that close.
Interesting. Okay.
Because there might be a knee-jerk reaction that sees Ryan Day outed. I think it would be a mistake, personally. I mean, like, if you can't beat Michigan, that's not good. But dude, if Mel Tucker goes 3-9 after 5-7 and signing that contract, are you?
What are they going to do though? What are they going to do? You can't fire a guy that you just gave a $95 million contract to. You can't. Your hands are tied. That's guaranteed money. Can't let that guy go. You got to ride that out for at least 2 more years.
I guarantee he'll be rich on a boat somewhere. That's what I'll say, dude. You can't keep him, dude. 3-9.
That's where I'm at with CJ. Listen, if it wasn't for the way the contract is, I would think it's Mel Tucker. But to me, just based on what I've seen from each fan base, I don't see a scenario, even if Ryan Day goes out and wins 11 games again, that he can lose 3 straight to Michigan and still keep his job. I just think, listen, they're not used to not beating Michigan. And now that they haven't done it for 2 years, that fan base is ready to lose their shit. There are some irrational people down there in Ohio State. And it's almost like, I was thinking about this the other day, like that 2021 season where Michigan went out, lost to Michigan State, but beat Ohio State and got to the college football playoff. I would take that season every single year. But if Michigan did what Ohio State did last year, went to Columbus, lost that game, still backed into the college football playoff and lost it, didn't even make it to the national championship, I would have a bad taste in my mouth. And I think that's where Ohio State fans are at. This program, these people have been programmed to believe that you have to beat Michigan every single year. And now that they're not doing it, they're losing their shit. And I think if Ryan Day loses 3 straight to the Wolverines, particularly given what his predecessors did against Michigan, I don't think he's going to keep his job. I don't think it matters how many games he wins. You can't survive 3 straight losses to Michigan if you're the coach at Ohio State. And then you got Mel Tucker, who's not good, at least as of late, and not looking like it's going to be good this year.
Well, but
man, he's got that massive contract in place.
Because that's the way it should be. Maybe he can call Jim Harbaugh and ask him how he made it through. Good.
Well, but the difference was Jim Harbaugh wasn't coming into a situation where Michigan was beating the shit out of Ohio State every single year, and that was the expectation. Like, here's the thing. Jim Harbaugh would not have survived his first 4 years if he came into a scenario where Michigan was beating Ohio State every single year, like what Ryan Day came into. Then it would be a much bigger problem. But if you remember, if you look back, what was the narrative when Jim Harbaugh was struggling was that, look, it's, he has to replace basically a decade of, inept football, and this program was in the dumpster and he's got to try to revive it, and on and on and on. So that was what ultimately kept him around. Ryan Day's in a much different, it's almost the way that people view what Juwan Howard took over when John Beilein was here. A program that's built for competing for national championships, has a track record now of success, and that's the expectation.
That's fair. It's because it's not starting. It feels like Ohio State is skidding because of Ryan Day.
Yeah.
Michigan, Harbaugh took some pretty big lumps from Ohio State, but it wasn't because of It was because of him, but it wasn't because of him. It wasn't like they built up something awesome and then all of a sudden he let it go.
Right.
So that's a fair point. But I don't do that's like the it's like the Dwayne Casey, Mike Budenholzer treatment. You win a championship coach of the year and get shit canned the next season. Yeah, that's wild, dude, to win all those games and not have, not win the big one that you have to win. I mean, I get it. We've been fans of the program and understand what that rivalry is all about. And if you can't win it, you got to go find somebody who can.
Yeah.
And, losing back-to-back by more than 20, I don't know what this year's version is going to look like, but I would bet similar. I don't know how it goes any differently, but yeah, you end your regular season again with a third L in a row by 20 or more points. Yeah, Ryan Day might not make it out of Ann Arbor with shoes, dude. He's renting a condo.
Love him in Ann Arbor. They just he might have to stay.
Yeah, he'll be hitchhiking a ride home with Juwan.
You guys need another coordinator over here?
No, analyst. You guys need an analyst? Is it paid? Can I get paid for that? It'd be bad, dude.
Yeah,
bad. That's an interesting question.
Have you moved because you were certain it was Tucker? But now that we've talked through this, have you moved at all, or are you still settling on Tucker?
I guess it's weird because it's like Mel Tucker would only have security built in because his contract is redonkulous.
Correct.
That's it. That's the only reason. They're gonna blow. They're not gonna be good this year. But what's 3 wins, 4 wins, 5? Great. Somebody said, "Come on, Michigan State's gonna win 5." Yeah, cool. You go 5-7 again. Awesome. Like, is that what we're doing now?
Give him some credit.
Come on, dude. 5. All right, cool. 5-7. It's not worth $95 million, dude. It ain't.
$10 million a year to win 5 games. It's pretty dope.
That's and they paid up. They paid up for that dude, didn't they?
They may have jumped the gun just a little bit on Mel. And we talked about this before. He was looking around. He was a hot commodity at the time, had 11 wins, Kenneth Walker, all the excitement. There's a chance they were going to lose him. We think that they did have to pay, but damn did they pay.
CJ, that's he got paid so well that he can't be fired. Right. That's wild.
Dude, they went all in. They went all in, and maybe that was the understanding is like, look, we are tied to you now for a long time. Just remember, 2032 is when that contract is up, by the way.
I think I said that joke on the podcast before, didn't I? I feel like I can because I'm talking with CJ.
Don't do it. No, just please don't. No, whatever you're thinking, just the way you led into that, for the love of God, please don't do it.
There's nothing wrong with him. I'll stop there. I'm pretty sure I said it on an old episode, but I'm trying to turn over a new leaf.
Please do.
Trying to find some karma here to get healthy for the first time.
You need a little good karma in your life.
For the first time in 2023.
I don't know where you're going with it, but I didn't like it. So we're shutting it down. There you go. You can send it to CJ in a private message.
I know I've said it before.
You won't get canceled that way.
I don't think I get.
You have that picture over there, by the way, the one that I sent you earlier
of
for
that
CJ? Event that's coming up. No, not of CJ.
Oh.
That event that's coming up.
Oh, you know what? I saved it to my phone, but I never sent it to my computer. Jesus, hold on, I'll do it right now. It'll only take a minute.
I got the Jeopardy music, something we can fill the time with. Coming up on $1:23 for tonight's podcast. Is this the longest podcast we've ever done?
No, we've hit an hour and a half a couple of times.
We have. Okay.
I'm positive I've told that joke before.
Just can't let it go.
I just really want to say it.
You must let it go, Brandon. You must let it go.
And if it comes back, then it loved me and I can say it.
There you go. CJ, in the near future, that's all I can say. There's a lot of details that got to be worked out. We're talking about a significant amount of money to pull all this off. And so I'm working it, trying to make it happen, but we will have an announcement on the tailgate for the upcoming season, probably within a month or so. A few more shows.
All right. Chris, take it away.
There we go. So one thing I did want to plug on tonight's show, if you guys are looking for something to do in early June, Brandon and I, we went up and we did this last year, and it was just a really cool event. They call it Wolverine Weekend. It's up at the Grand Traverse Resort in Traverse City, which is just a beautiful hotel. They've got a lot of good things to do there. Big golf course there if you're into golf. But more importantly, on that weekend, they're going to have a handful of Michigan football players there that fans are going to be able to interact with. I'm not sure if they're going to be doing any signings, but there's a Q&A session. You can see there that John Ubacon and Devin Gardner are going to be featured speakers at the event. They're also doing a Woodson whiskey tasting event on Friday. So Friday is the Woodson whiskey tasting event. Saturday is the dinner where the 4 players there, you can see Junior Colson, Will Johnson, Donovan Edwards, and Colson Loveland are going to be in the house. They're going to have a dinner. Then the guys are going to go up on stage. There's going to be like a little Q&A session, have the opportunity to mingle with the players. And then on Sunday, I believe they do the golf outing. And so if you're looking for something to do, like I said, June 9th to the 11th, get up to Traverse City, man. It's beautiful this time of year. Like I said, the hotel is beautiful. And then you get the opportunity to mingle with, some guys that are going to be some pretty big impact players for the Wolverines in 2023. And then, of course, if nothing else, you get to see your boys. Brandon and I will be up there for the weekend, also taking in the sights and sounds as well.
I mean, it was so much fun last year.
We got a little pool time in.
I only hope that the weather cooperates like it did last year. Chris and I were bummed out that we didn't bring the sticks. We didn't really think we were going to have time to hit the links, and we did. But it was a lot of fun. The grounds are incredible. The hotel is awesome. Casino nearby for those of you who dabble. I may be there. You may catch me there. But yeah, really cool time. Interested to see how it goes this year. If you remember last year, Harbaugh pulled an old fast one on everybody.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
So I mean, he's known to do that from time to time.
Yeah,
Chris,
as scheduling conflict with the players, I believe.
As we get ready to wind her down here, I'm gonna put the audio on, get the music going a little bit.
What is it?
Chris, did you happen to see Jim Harbaugh? What? Now it's not even working. Great. Just great. Forgot I unplugged her. I unplugged her for you. This is your fault, Chris.
It's not my fault. It's
StreamYard's
fault.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't understand why the audio issue is what it is just from playing a sound.
It is an issue, an ongoing issue.
I don't get it.
And that doesn't matter what headset I'm using. Could be the gamer headset, could be this one.
That's been ever since we started.
I'm sure the higher ups at StreamYard are currently tuned in, so.
And now it's just not working at all.
We're really fizzling out here towards the end as we're creeping.
I mean, we've been going for too long, dude. I'm over it. Oh, there we go. That's not the sound that I wanted, but
appropriate given the circumstances.
That's appropriate right now.
Hey.
Did you happen to see that Jim Harbaugh would be a lawnmower if he could do anything else in his life? Did you see that?
I saw something about that. Yeah, I'm not surprised. He seems like the kind of, listen, anybody who's out there, who's a homeowner, who's, I don't know, 35 or older, maybe, like, I take so much pride in cutting the grass. Like when the lines are real straight and you get that fresh cut grass smell going and you get the weed whacker out and you trim around it. It's just a good feeling to sit back and soak it all in.
Are you an edger? Do you edge sidewalks?
I edge, I weed whack. I do it all.
Or do you have a
No, I've got the trimmer.
Edger.
Well, I've got the weed whacker that tilts up this way, and then you put the edging head on it, and then so.
Okay.
I like it. I enjoy it. It's kind of like therapy. You know what I mean? In a way, you get out, you're with nature. It's like you're almost like an artist out there in your yard.
CJ, I sent you that joke. Give it a look. Let me know if I'm camp report or not.
We need approval from the community before I'll allow Brandon to say it live.
I could put the meme up. Then it's not.
No, it's not happening.
I mean, it's only slightly racial, and it's funny. It's funny.
Well, then it can't be done. Not in today's comment. Can't be done.
I don't adhere to some of those.
That's your problem. You should adhere.
Probably should. I love everybody, dude. I mean, if I'm bagging on you, it means I really care about you. That's how I see it.
If I'm racist, it means I really love you.
That's exactly it.
That's all it means.
It's endearing. It's endearing sometimes.
You see what you've done, CJ? You see what you've done here? Let's get the hell out of here.
I'm going upstairs. I need to eat, man. I can't even talk anymore. That's well.